Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome back to another of my videos. Today we are going to be talking about the Chrysler K, along with a review of the tank and whether or not you should buy it for the price tag of 15,000 gold. So I'm going to be changing up the way I do some of my videos and reviews, so if you guys like the way I do it, tell me. And if you like the old way better, give me your opinions and thoughts. But starting off, the Chrysler K, as most of you know, is probably one of the most controversial tanks in the game of PC. When Sir Fosh made a video, Wargaming pretty much removed him as a contributor and wanted him to take down the video and remove his YouTube channel. So this tank was completely broken on PC. Really, there were lots of overpowered issues with it. But I do think Wargaming did make this tank not super overpowered on the World of Tanks Blitz, because its penetration is only 198 and the damage is 310. But unlike on PC, the APCR penetration does less damage. It goes down to 260, which isn't a very big amount of damage. And the penetration is still pretty low at only 245. So the problem with that is you drop 200 damage per minute, but your penetration is really bad, as you can see. But you see, as I snap that shell into the RHM, it does have that accuracy still. And I'll bring up a little clip of the armor profile up at the top. You can see that the front is going up to 260 millimeters thick. The sides are very thick at like 115. The rear is strong too. It's much stronger than the average American tank at being 70. And one thing that most people do not know about this tank is that it actually has 6 degrees over the front of the tank. But when you turn the gun to the side, it actually gets 10 degrees of gun compression, which is a big advantage when peeking over ridge lines. But its armor profile is very good. One thing I have noticed about this tank, though, which is very odd, is how mobile it is. This tank is almost as if it was a medium tank because it's so quick. I can run this tank and keep up with T-54 Mod 1s, bounce their shells and pen them right in the lower plate, and able to, outflank heavies. There's an ST-1 over here, and you'll see that the mobility on this tank is so good I'm able to circle an ST-1 pretty much. I'm going to get behind him. I see him trying to turn his tank. You can see I'm able to just pick up my speed, get up to that top speed. He really can't even turn his turret quick enough to go and aim at me. Then the Centurion I did not get over quick enough to kill. The second replay you're going to see is on Desert Sands. And that'll show how good the gun is again. You can see I did 3,000 damage this game, and I did have to do my bit of work to do that much damage. But you can also see it does earn very good credits. The credits are much better than you would think on this tank. The second game is on Desert Sands, and I'd like to say this tank does have an average amount of hit points at 1,500, so it's not going to be, surviving too many shells. It's not like the 34's amazing 1,600 hit points. It's going to be like an average heavy. One thing I have noticed is that this tank is huge, which is a big downfall for the armor profile, because since this tank is so big, it's much harder to hide your weak spots. The lower plate's only about 180 to 70 thick. So every tier 8 and tier 9 and tier 7 pretty much can pen your lower plate. And the problem with that is, since it's such a big lower plate, as you can see, it's very hard to hide that lower plate. And I would like to say one thing. I'm kind of disappointed with the legendary Camouflage. Well, the tanks came up for this tank. Just because it's called the Tomahawk. I wanted to have maybe the same camouflage that PC had, that made it black and had the little Wargaming logo on it. Just like to say that I wish the camouflage was a little more creative. You can see this gun has a very, very nice reload. You're able to pump out damage, and since this tank is so quick, you're able to keep up with the enemy trying to get away from you. And this tank is able to hold 100 shells. So one nice thing is you're not going to have to worry about running out of ammunition, or if I should run more APCR than AP rounds. You can see that this armor is good, but you're not going to be really bouncing too many shells from these T-34s. Any tier 9 is pretty much going to pen you right through the upper plate, which is an issue. But you can see since this reload is so good, you're able to out-reload pretty much all of the other tier 8 heavies that do 400 damage and back up quick enough because of this amazing mobility. I have had light tanks try and flank me, and you're actually able to turn the tank quicker. It can turn up to a total of 50 degrees a second, and the turret turns 30 degrees a second. So in total, this tank can turn a whole 180 degree turn in 2 seconds, which is just insane. You can see I'm able to track down this Dracula, and he can't even do anything about it, you know? Drives into the wall. I'm able to shoot him again. He's dead. And really no tank's able to escape this. It's sort of like an overpowered mod 1. That's the problem, is that you can run this tank like a medium and pretty much kill all the mediums against you. The only place where this tank really downfalls is tier 9 matches, because you can't penetrate tier 9s, which is a big issue. When you're trying to pen a VK, VK, 100p, it's tough, but when you're up against a Maushin, you really can't even pen it with APCR in the lower plate. It's such a tough target to pen. But you're seeing that I'm able in these tier 8 matches to just dominate. I blocked 2,200 damage this game. Got a steel wall, 93,000 credits. Again, another amazing credit game. And I did no missions. One problem with this tank I have seen is that I actually could not get the mastery in it, even with a 4K game, which shouldn't really be like that, because I thought the mastery was around 1200 experience, but it wasn't. It's actually, it's more like 1300, I think, now, which is just super insane. Really, it shouldn't be that hard to get a mastery in this tank, judging that it's really not super overpowered either. This tank, the Wargaming did it right. The only thing I'd like to say is that since this tank is so quick, you actually get yourself in situations where you're so far ahead of your team, you're actually pushing yourself too far into the enemy's line, and you'll actually get encircled by enemy tanks because you'll go so quick that they won't even get out of spawn. Like, look how quick this thing gets 0 to 40. Going uphill, I'm able to go at 25, as you're seeing. It's just such a quick tank. Going 40, its power to weight ratio is 20, which is very nice. So it really stays at 40 the whole time. The aiming time is also very good. It's only 1.9, and the dispersion is 0.362, which is also very average. So this tank is very nice, but it's just that penetration that really lets it down. That's one of just the big downfalls of it. But you can see I was able to push into this position here. As long as I turn my tank enough to the side, I'm able to use this gun depression, as you can see well. This gun, for my equipment loadout, I did not put on the aiming time. I put on supercharge, I think it is, so my shells go quicker. Just because I like the feeling of it being like an APCR round and just flying straight into the enemy. But that first shell was a bit of a miss, as you can see. But it's fine because this tank has so many rounds and its reloads so quick. I can just pop back out and snap a shell right into its cupola. Now, one of the issues I do know, as I said before, is since this tank is so big, When you try to use your 10 degrees of gun depression, it's a very easy target for people to snap into your side armor when you're trying to use it. But since this tank is so quick, you're able to really shoot that person back before they can even back up. But I've already lost 500 health, which is a bit of an issue, judging that it's just the beginning of the game, but we'll make up for it in the end. One other problem I have noticed with this tank is that people like to push on it, and the problem with that is since this tank's armor really isn't that amazing, as soon as they can get to the side, and since the gun isn't that good at penetrating, as soon as you get a tier 9 pushing on you, you're really done. When you run this tank, you need to have a teammate with you, somebody in a strong vehicle that can, hold back the enemies so that you're not going to be pushed on, because people aren't scared of 310 damage. The HE, I will say, is very nice at being, I think it's 400 average, and it can roll up to 500, which is really nice. People may think this vehicle is really good at ramming since it's so fast, but I have found that it really isn't because it only weighs 60 tons. So when you try to ram a heavy tank at 40, you may be going to knock off 60 damage, 70. It's better for ramming like RHMs or light tanks because you got such a good power to weight ratio. But you can see it's great aiming time. I'm able to snap shell after shell into this VK's turret, scaring him away. And since I've got that great gun depression, as soon as I turn the vehicle to the side, I'm able to aim over these ridge lines very well. And the 198 pen really isn't that bad at tier 8. People may think it's really bad, but as you can see, as soon as I get this gun depression working, I'm able to pen the lower plate of that IS-3 every time super easily. This T-69 bounces me twice. I'm able to snap him. I got 75 health left, so the size 3 things he can push on me. But as you can see, this armor is just so good, and that gun is just able to go right through that stock turret. And I'm already up to 3.8 thousand damage, so bouncing shell after shell, 75 health. This 69 is probably aiming crazy frantic. Where can I pen this guy? I don't know how to pen him. He's just pretty much stopped aiming at me, and since I've got such good gun depression, I'm able to just snap him. Sorry about this prototype, I didn't notice him until it was a bit too late. But you can see I bounce him again, and then I just snap him. There you go, I've done 4.4 thousand damage this game. And it was a hard and well-earned game, but as you can see, if you manage to work this tank into the right position, you can play it so well, and, with your amazing turret armor, you're able to punish the enemy when they try and push on you. Really though, don't buy the camouflage for this tank, because really all you're getting is the Indian looking camouflage. It changes the name to Tomahawk, and it gives you this little banner on the side like the T-22 gets. Really other than that, it does nothing. So I wouldn't suggest to get that. Is the tank worth $50? I do not think it is, just because you can buy a low, which has pretty much the same gun as this, but better penetration, better accuracy. It's relatively got better armor in some scenarios. You can just work the low better. Again, it was like the other video on the lows. The Sherman, there's no point to buy this vehicle as of in this point because it's so overpriced for an okay tier 8 when you could go and buy a T-34 that you can perform better in than this vehicle. Because this vehicle is not good for an unexperienced player in any way, shape, or form. If you're not good enough at this game to know what side scraping is, it won't work out. And sorry about the Discord. One of my Discord servers must be going crazy. But yeah, other than that, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you around on the battlefield.